are bold, you are fearless, you are radiant. It's time to unlock the diamond from within. BFF, we rise above, stronger together, we shine with love. Faith unshaken, hearts on fire, fearless souls, we're reaching high.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Women on the Rise segment of the BFF Empowerment Podcast. I am Blaque Diamond, and today with me I have Miss Gail Showalter.
Showalter, yeah.
Okay, Showalter. And she is the founder of the Single Women Ed. It's a nonprofit that helps single women or single mothers to pursue education so that they can find employment. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I am thrilled to be here and share our stories and adventures with your ladies, your
Yes,
listeners.
ma'am. So just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I had a pretty great life. And then my husband left me with 3 children, and I had to rebuild everything. And I had to start kind of over from scratch. And so I spent 16 years as a single mom before I remarried many years ago. And I have a passion for them. And as I've gotten to know single moms since 2007, I've been really working with them. I realized that the common thread of need among the single mothers that I knew was that they needed some sort of skill, whether it was a college degree, a certificate of some sort, something that would give them reliable employment so they could support their children. Because of the 11 million single parents, 80% of them are women, mothers, and a third of those live in poverty. So they need help. And
Mhm.
they don't need to be scrutinized. They don't need to be criticized and looked down on. They need to be given support, because all the moms I've worked with over the years, and that's a lot, they want to do better. They just need a chance. They need a chance to get ahead. And some of them are very good about going out and getting jobs, but they can't get past the everyday hand to mouth, And
Mhm.
so if they can have some sort of skill, even a 2-year degree gives them an opportunity to be employed in a reliable way. And that's what we do. And that's what I've been doing now for many years. And I enjoy every minute of it because these mothers are so appreciative and they're such hard workers. I
Mhm.
tell people all the time, single mothers are the hardest workers people you will know. They're doing everything they can to hold their lives together, to manage their children, to get them raised in a world that's kind of going crazy. And so
Mhm.
that's what we do. I have written a book. I do a lot of writing and podcasting, and I'm online a lot. So if they need to find me, they can find me. If they have questions or anything like that, I'm here and easy found. But at any rate, that's what I am. That's what we do.
Well, exactly what you just described is me in a nutshell.
Good.
I am also a single mother, um, and I am pursuing my education.
Well, good for you. Good for
I
you.
am pursuing
What are
a
you
degree,
pursuing? What?
a degree in human resources management, and
Oh,
this is actually my second go around at going to college. At first, because I have a situation where I'm actually blind. So finding employment for somebody that's blind is hard as it is.
let me tell you that I worked with children who were visually impaired. I
Mhm.
taught Braille, and the last chapter of my book is all about what I learned from my
Mhm.
students.
Oh,
I need
wow.
to talk. We need to talk. Where are you located?
I am located in North Carolina, and I actually read and teach Braille as well,
Okay.
amongst other
Are
things.
you anywhere near Raleigh?
Yes, ma'am. Hour and a half. I used to live
I
in
have
there.
a student, a former student who lives in Raleigh.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, she lost all her remaining vision several years ago. She has a little
Mhm.
boy, and he inherited the same condition. And so, yeah, and she has the same issues. I mean, even with education, she has trouble finding good
Mhm.
work.
So
I
yeah, this is my third go around. I started off social work, And then I was like, I love helping people, but just the thought, I was just sitting back and looking at the numbers. What's the possibility that I will actually find a job as a social worker, as somebody that's blind? So I was like, okay, although I love helping people, first of all, the money is not enough for what they have to go through. So I was like, okay, scratch that. Let's try something else. Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. So I'm like, okay, well, why not business management? It's broad. I can kind of work in different fields until I could figure out exactly where I wanted to go as far as business goes. And then I dealt with a situation where I was discriminated against for a job. And
Mm,
that caused me to switch gears once again to human resources management because of my experience in the hiring process and, how I was denied a job despite my skills and abilities and experience just
yeah.
off the fact that I was blind.
Yeah.
Or at least when I originally applied for the job, I guess they, whatever reason, didn't realize I was blind. So they hired me or
Wow.
offered me the job. But once I was hired and I asked for accommodations, they took the job back. So
That
my
is
whole
so sad.
experience with dealing with that is what caused me to switch gears and decide to go into human resources because I want to take part and be a part of the hiring process for employers.
Wow. That's a big achievement on your part. Yeah.
And so, yes, I am a single mom to a little boy who's 6 and he is special needs. So that's a lot in itself. And I do currently work full time, and pursue school. And I'm also an award-winning author and poet, motivational speaker, and songwriter. So I do a lot. And now I'm a
You.
podcaster.
Yeah.
So
You're a busy lady.
definitely single moms rock. We do it all.
Mhm. You do.
So, when it comes to your organization and what you do to help women with finding education and finding ways to find employment after they've received their degrees, um, what has been your hardest, like when you first decided to go this route? Were you like well received, or did you go through was it not well received, when you first initiated this organization?
Yeah. Well, what I really wanted was for a big organization, that we have here in Texas to come in and do it for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they do have facilities for single moms in various cities in the state, but we didn't have the funds to support that
Mhm.
because they build a facility, they have housing for the moms, they have daycare for the moms. It's pretty elaborate and that takes millions and we don't have millions.
Mhm.
And so instead of just giving it up, I thought, well, let's start small. And we started very small.
Mhm.
And we had one woman. She's actually a mother to 5 and a grandmother, and she had tried several times to get through school. So she already had several college hours on her docket, but she was really great to work with. And she finished in a couple of years with a degree in social work. She did really well.
Mhm.
And so what we do is we pick moms who are looking at something like you've gone through trying to figure out what's the avenue best for you to get a job.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
what we look at. We don't look at women who are just getting daydreaming about any kind of job. We only look at women who are committed, they're enrolled somewhere, so they've been accepted into maybe a 2-year college program because we have several around here in Southeast Texas. And then we interview them to find out if they're serious and if this is going to be a good match and if they are going to finish and what their grades are and all kinds of things.
Mhm.
But the women that we work with are more likely than the others I mentioned to complete the process. But we're there to support them. If they have a flat tire and they call us, we're going to take care of it.
Mhm.
But the thing is, a lot of the moms I've known do not have family support. They don't have a support system. They've just gone out on their own with determination. So we really respect that and we encourage them. So we encourage them on several levels. We help them financially, we help them emotionally,
Mhm.
we help them spiritually in whatever area they're dealing with. Maybe they're dealing with the troublesome children, maybe they're dealing with a terrible time with their budget, which is very common. A lot of single moms don't even think about budgeting. They just live paycheck to
A
paycheck,
paycheck to
which you
paycheck.
can understand that. But at the same time, we help them think about the future and what they need to be doing and how they need to handle money. So all of those things are included in what we do. But it was difficult to start out. We got some momentum after a few years because I was on the radio a lot. And so I got some attention from that and got
Hmm.
some people that were real interested in working with me. And now we have a board, and the board of women are excellent. Some of them have been single mothers. Some of them are single mothers. Some of them just have a lot of compassion and they're working with us. So one of our women is an accountant. She knows accounting and she knows all the rules that I never knew. And so she knows
Hmm.
how to handle all the money. And so, yes, we've done very well in this community anyway. Uh, you know, there are some organizations across the country
Hmm.
similar to this. Some are bigger than we are, but it's one of those things that takes time to build. You have to be
Exactly.
pretty committed and pretty determined to go forward with it.
Hmm. So, what has been your, if you would say, a percentage of your success rate?
Oh, I'd say 95%.
Oh, wow, that's
We
good.
we because we're careful.
Hmm.
We
You vet them
careful
very well.
with which women we bring into the program.
Hmm.
uh, we're not discriminating in a bad way.
Hmm.
We just want women who are going to complete what they start. And we've only had maybe one that just said, I can't handle the workload. I can't do this, which was
Hmm.
understandable. It's just that you want to evaluate that situation before you get into it. Uh,
Exactly.
and you know what I'm talking about for sure.
Hmm.
But some girls think, well, I'm going to be a nurse. And they don't look into the program for nursing and what the hours it's going to take and everything because they have children. What are they
Hmm.
going to do while they're in those situations? And so we go through all that before we bring them in.
Yeah, because what a lot of people don't realize, school, going to school and working full time and being a single parent, like it takes a lot of sacrifice. So a lot of times you're sacrificing sleep because you have to stay up even after your child or kids are asleep, working on papers and completing coursework and especially if you're not in a situation where you can go to school on campus, where you have to go to school online. Like,
Yes.
you have to dedicate that time to doing schoolwork.
Yes, you have to be determined. I mean, I went back to school twice during those years. The second time was to learn Braille and get my certificate for that.
Mhm.
But it's a chore, and not everybody. It's not for everybody.
Mm-mm.
Not every
No.
single mom's going to want to do this. I mean, I have single moms that I know that are not interested in doing this. But at the same time, I want to help the ones who want to get on their feet and get going. You don't
Mhm.
want them to sit back and one day wish they had done such and such,
Mhm.
because that's always sad. And but we have a pretty good percentage rate.
Mhm. And so you're just based locally in Texas. Do you guys do like anything outside of Texas or outside of the local city? Or is it just strictly?
It's the region of Southeast Texas. If you look at a map,
Mhm.
we teasingly say we're on the right side of Texas. We're right there next to Louisiana.
Mhm.
In fact, there's one college that's right in Orange, Texas, which is just across the border from Louisiana. And then Beaumont and Port Arthur are the bigger cities. You may have heard of them during hurricanes and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where most of our work goes, in those places: Orange, Port Arthur, Beaumont, and I live in Mid County, so there's bedroom communities all around here, and all of my work, my podcast or my videos go all over, of course. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to reach single moms and give them encouragement across the board.
Mhm.
They can
Yeah,
look.
I've actually looked to your at your website and seen like all the graduates, and I was like, "Oh wow!" Like,
Yeah, it's pretty neat, isn't it? Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. And those women that are working on it, it's all volunteer. Nobody gets a salary.
Mhm.
So it's pretty heart kind of work, it's free from the heart.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what we need as a community. Like I mean, yes, everybody wants to get paid, and you want to feel like your time is being, compensated, but you're doing something good for the community, so that should be compensation enough. Like, you're helping somebody else to get on their feet and make, a life that's better for their kids, because at the end of the day, their kids are dependent on them. There's
And
nobody else to depend on.
yeah, and the kids watch their moms get a degree of some sort and go to work, and
Hmm.
that makes an impression on them, a lifelong impression. It makes a difference because they see, yes, you can do this, even if it's hard, you can do it, which means I
Hmm.
can do it.
Exactly. And you want to be that positive example for them.
That's right.
So definitely pursuing, education, higher education. It's not for everybody. And not saying that you're not going to be successful if you don't do higher education, but it does help when you are a single parent and you're trying to, be there for your child financially, and, being able to make sure that you can support them on your own because you're the only one that they have. Like, I am my son's only means. Like, I have no support system. I never have. I've been a single mom since I found out I was pregnant with him. And
Yeah.
so it's been me and him against the world. So everything I do for him to make sure that he knows that he's loved, that he's supported, and that despite how people look at his mom as somebody that's blind, that I'm out here doing and living my best life.
That is so good. That's such a testimony, and it gives a good impression to him, and he can pass that along to others as he grows.
Yes, because he loves telling like his classmates that his mom is an author. And I would go, his teacher invited me to read one of my children's books to his class, and he was just so proud,
Oh,
to say,
yes,
"This is my mommy. My
of
mommy wrote
course.
this book."
That's wonderful.
And
Really
I'm actually
wonderful.
working with him with his first book as well. So, and I want him, and all of my children's book, because I write adult and children's as well, but I started writing children especially when I became a mom. And I kind of do books that are based on his age and his growth and what he's learning at that time.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
so, like, I always dedicate the books to him because I want him, as he gets older, to look back and somebody says, "Oh, I read such and such book. Oh, my mom wrote that." But
Yeah.
all the books are dedicated to him. And so currently I'm working on one called Braille Superpower. And it's about a little girl. Her name is Braille, and she's blind. And he was like, "Mommy, is that story about you?" And I'm like, "No." But she's a little girl. Like, I could have been, I wasn't, blind when I was that young. But basically, I am doing the book to kind of spread awareness about blindness. So in the book, I do like different facts. And just from a child's perspective, to teach children about diversity, and how just because someone is different doesn't mean that they're different. They may do things differently, but that doesn't make it anything wrong.
Right.
Because that's what he's learning when finding out, okay, my mom is blind, but my friend's mom isn't blind.
True. Yeah. So, what's the title of the book you've written about the
Uh,
braille?
so this one is, I've written it, so I'm still working. My illustrator is working on illustrating it. So it's called Braille Superpower. So basically, just that day is like superhero day, and so the teacher has the children, come to school dressed as their favorite superheroes. But Braille, the little girl, she comes dressed as herself. She's wearing her sunglasses, she has her cane, and she basically spends the day teaching the other children what it means to be blind.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I may have to get that for my student that lives in North Carolina.
Hmm. So yeah, the little girl, she's about 8, because I'm doing this because my son is 6, almost 7. So I'm always writing books kind of based on his age and where he is, as far as reading goes.
Yeah, her son is probably 8 by now.
Hmm.
Check. Yeah.
So when it comes to like women pursuing education as a means to basically just coming, especially if they're young. like, because there's a lot of single women who are, or single mothers who start off like teenagers being single moms. And
Yeah.
a lot of them do not pursue education. They go straight to like working, and then they end up doing like, work that they really don't like. And, especially if it's retail or working in fast food or something, because that's really all they can afford to do
Yeah.
in order to, survive and take care of their children. So what would
Yeah.
be some advice that you would give someone who is looking but isn't sure if higher education is doable for them or within
Right.
their
This is
reach?
really a good question. Because a lot of women who have children, maybe even in high school, before they get out of high school,
Hmm.
they're locked in. They're kind of hogtied. They can't do one thing for the other, so
Hmm.
they can't go to school because they have a child at home and they're going to a job. So how are they going to go to school? Well, I do know some of our moms have done online courses.
Hmm.
Excuse me, they've done online courses in the evening, and it's taken them a long time. It's not a regular degree that they would get, quickly.
Hmm.
So they have to decide very carefully what they want to do. But some of them do that online courses and online colleges, which we have now that they didn't used to have.
Yes.
Then there are other organizations that offer grants and scholarships to moms. There's one in particular that's a pretty good grant for women that have been out of school. You have to have been really out of high school for 24 months. It's for women going back. It's
Hmm.
not for, high school graduates. But it's the organization's called PEO International, and they offer different grants. But the one I'm talking about is called a PCE, Program for Continuing Education. It's a
Hmm.
pretty good size grant for women, and there are PEO chapters all over the country. So that would be something I suggest that they do. And then there are other grants that they can look into online to see if they can do it. Excuse me, sometimes young women like that don't realize how fast time is passing. They
Hmm.
think, well, one of these days I'll do it. And then one of these days never comes because
Hmm.
they're just drudging through day to day, working hard, trying to get their kids through school and everything. So I suggest looking at a year goal and a 2 year and a 5 year goal and thinking, okay, if I really want to do this, what do I need to do tomorrow?
Hmm.
In other words, sometimes I tell them, you need to gather information before you make a decision. And because they seem to be afraid to do that. And I mean by that, you can gather information. It costs you nothing.
Hmm.
Nowadays, online, you can find anything that you want to know about, like what
Exactly.
jobs would be good for someone who likes to be outdoors but can only work 8 to 5. Just put in all kinds of filters and find
Hmm.
out what things would be good for you to do. Dream a little bit, daydream. That doesn't cost anything either. And so don't hesitate to look into possibilities. And then I've had moms that only want to apply for one job at a time. Well, I'm
Hmm.
going to apply for this, or I'm going to apply for this school. And if I don't get that, then I have to step back, start over, apply for that. No, just apply to all of them.
Exactly. Keep
You
your
know,
options open. Apply, apply, apply.
yeah, it's just like a shotgun approach. Don't just do one thing. I
Hmm.
mean, because you never know. When I was looking for jobs, and I have many times in my life, uh, I just looked everywhere, looked at all of them, interviewed everybody. Just because you go in for an interview doesn't mean you have to accept a job.
Exactly.
So that's the same with college or with any kind of decisions. Now, I'm not one of these people, it might seem that I am, but I'm not one of these people that thinks everybody needs to have a college degree. I don't think that at all. I do think that single moms in the world today need to have a
Yes.
skill. They need to have something that they can look to, that they can go to for employment to help support their families. And
Hmm.
I mean, I know single moms that just do drudgery work and that's all they ever get past. But there are opportunities out there for everybody. There are
Yes.
all kinds of opportunities. But if you haven't looked into it, if you haven't asked any questions, then you're not likely to find out what they are.
Exactly.
We have a workforce commission right down the street. Most cities do. It doesn't hurt to go in and ask questions. Are there any jobs for someone like me?
Mhm.
Then it helps you make a future goal and a decision about what you want to do, what you want to do tomorrow, what you're going to want to have done in 5 years. You can't make those decisions by just quickly making a decision, like I said earlier, where mom says, "Well, I want to be a nurse. I'll just enter," and they can easily some of them can easily get into the program before they
Mhm.
realize what the program involves.
Exactly. And I'm like, oh, whoa, way in over my head. Like I can't. And then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you need to find out, get all the information together, find out about what's involved, what's expected of you at that is that kind of student. There are so many things that are available in 2-year programs. I don't know what it's like in North Carolina, but I do know that most towns have little colleges, technical
Community
schools,
colleges. Yep.
2-year schools. You can
Vocational,
study radiology, you can study dental hygiene, you can study dental assisting, you can study
veterinarian
vet
assistants.
assistants, all kinds of things like that. But you need to do your homework, really. And it doesn't take a lot, maybe a little bit of time every evening, a little bit of time when you have a chance. And
Hmm
that will lead you to a decision because a decision needs to be informed. You need to have an informed decision, excuse me, not a fly by night idea.
Exactly. So what would you say to a single mom that may be still in high school or struggling to get through high school? Do you guys have any programs for that, or is it just, get your GED or graduate from high school?
Well, we don't have programs for high school students per se.
Hmm
What we do is to do with women who have gotten out of high school, and I have had one or two that were pregnant, had a baby, and then decided that they would go to school, and I guess they had some sort of family assistance, at the time, maybe
hmm
for childcare, and they got enrolled in school and went through a 2-year program, and we got them at that point. They came to us
Okay.
at the point where they had applied. They knew they were going to go to this particular program. I think it was radiology. And sometimes they even go on further,
hmm
but we provide that stepping stone for those 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized because like my situation was I never got to actually graduate from high school. I wasn't a mom or anything then cuz but just because of life circumstances and what I was going through, like I never got the chance to finish high school until I was 25 years old.
Hmm.
And I ended up having to do that online because I was working. I had to support myself. There was no way because of my age that I could go back to a traditional high school.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, like, how would that work for like young moms like that, whatever their life circumstances was, where they couldn't finish high school, but a GED or going back to traditional high school wasn't an option for them, and they had to get like their high school diploma later in life.
Oh, that's a good one. Um, One thing I do say to moms in situations similar to that is get your GED. And if you're afraid to get a GED, you don't think you can do it, look online. There are classes available. There are regional service centers that offer classes to help you get your GED because people want you. They want to help you. They want you to get it. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, I have a mom that's too afraid to get it. She's afraid she couldn't pass it. So she doesn't go. You
Mhm.
know, you can't be like that. If you want to go forward and make a living, you have to live life on life's terms. That's what I say.
Mhm.
You can't
So
just
true.
pretend it's going to get better or something's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. You need to decide, okay, I'm too old. I can't go back to high school, but I can get a GED. And this is how I'm going to do it. A, B, C. First, you call. You call facilities that offer training or help or tutoring for GED. You find out everything you can about that. Most of the time, you're going to be able to do it without it costing you anything. Just depends on where
Mhm.
you are and who's doing it. That's your first goal is to get past that. You get there, then you can go forward with something else. Application, do something else. And like I said, it may have to be online since you're working,
Yeah,
but
I ended up going to Penn Foster High School. I got my high school diploma through them because there was no accessible GED for somebody that's blind at that time. I think
mm,
now things are a little bit different, but yeah, at that time, yeah, there wasn't. And so I had to find some other way to get. I wanted a high school diploma, so I found Penn Foster, and I did my schooling at night when I got off work.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I used to have to help adapt tests for my students who couldn't, were Braille students.
Mhm.
And the testing, the standardized tests are not necessarily adapted very well.
Mhm.
And so that's another big issue you have to deal with. And you have personal experience, so you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm. Oh wow. So I think this has been a really good conversation. I really hope that the listeners, get some good from it. And if they are looking to pursue, higher education, definitely. I think this listening to this episode should be the motivation that they need, that there are programs out there. There are organizations out there. There are grants out there. So you don't have to go at this alone. There are support systems even if you don't have family support.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of times my single moms do not have family support. In fact, some cases the families do not want them to go back to school. They think they'll get better than the others or something. I don't know, but it's a sad situation
Mhm.
because no education's powerful.
It
Knowledge
is.
is power, as you know. And
Mhm.
so I hope I'll hear from you, and people can get a hold of me easily. The old bird with feathers of wisdom. I'm all over the place.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to make sure you announce your social media and website and where everyone can.
My website's real simple. It's gailshowalter.com.
Mhm.
And my byline is The Old Bird with Feathers of Wisdom for Women and a Soft Spot for Single Moms. I
Mhm.
am on Instagram. I'm just starting getting rolling on Instagram well, and I'm doing podcast and I am doing the videos for Facebook and Instagram. And I'm pretty easy to contact because you can find my contact information on the website,
Mhm.
gailshowalter.com.
Okay. All right. So we've come to the last part of the show here, where I like to call "What is she thinking?" So I'm going to say a phrase, and I want you to just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Doesn't matter if it's silly or it doesn't. Don't think too hard about it. It's
Okay.
just something a little fun, you
Okay.
know, after a serious conversation.
All right.
Oh,
What is she thinking? What are her thoughts? Quick, fast, no blinking. What do you got?
okay. So Santa Claus is.
Oh boy. Santa Claus is a wonderful spirit of Christmas. We
All
could not
right.
have Christmas without Santa Claus.
Okay, I like that. Um, the door is broken, but
You can still come in.
let's see. I don't like hot chocolate, but I like
Hot tea.
hot tea. Okay. You can't have mine.
You can't have my poodle.
All right. Last one. Turn down the TV.
So I can hear myself think.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining and listening to another Women on the Rise segment of the BFF Empowerment Podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast on all major podcasting platforms. You can also follow us on social media. We are BFF Empowerment Podcast on Instagram, BFF Empowerment Podcast on Facebook, and BFF Empowerment Podcast on Threads and YouTube. And also visit our website at bffempowermentpodcast.com. Thanks so much for joining me, Miss Gail.
Thank you. I've enjoyed this.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you so much for listening, everyone. See you next time.
BFF, we rise above, stronger together we shine.